All right, you are now live.
Well, good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Halifax Regional Municipality Active Transportation Advisory Committee. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast live on YouTube. Just to remind our participants that both video and audio should be on. According to the municipal charter, we're supposed to be seen and heard. My name is Hugh Millward. I am chairing the meeting, and the vice chair is Douglas Wetmore. Douglas, and I'm going to start the roll call now. So if everyone, when I call your name, if you can let us know that you're here, and we can see that your video and audio are working. So Douglas Wetmore.
Present. Thank you, Hugh.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patty Cattell.
I am here. Thank you.
Councillor, thank you. Annika Ropel.
Hugh, Annika's just texting me. She's just having trouble getting on. I'll try to figure out if I can get her in. Thanks.
Okay, that is Elizabeth McDonald, our legislative assistant. Holly Woodill.
Present here. Thank you.
Hello, Holly. Can you give us your video as well?
Oh, just one.
if possible. Okay. Milena Casanavicius.
Yes, Hugh, I am here. My video is on. Whether you see me or not is not up to me.
No, we can see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Elizabeth Pugh.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Elizabeth. Peter Zimmer.
Here.
Peter. Paul Young.
Yeah, hello. Present and accounted.
Hello, Paul. Brittany McLean.
I'm here. Thanks.
Okay. Miles McCormick.
Hello, Hugh. I'm here.
Okay, Miles.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we see you and hear you. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Andrew Taylor. Hello, Andrew.
Hello. I am here, but I can't.
Are you calling in by phone? Is that it?
No, I am trying to get my camera going.
Okay. Well, we can hear you anyway, so that's good.
You can hear me, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, thank you. Staff members that are due to be at this meeting: David McIsaac. David here.
David has actually not joined yet. I think he might be joining maybe a little later in the meeting. I know Chloe and Eliza are both here. They might.
Okay. Chloe Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, Chloe. And Eliza Jackson.
I'm here as well. Nice to see you all.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So we'll proceed to the land acknowledgement. The Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. Now I'll move on to the agenda that was circulated. Item 2 is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting that were also circulated. Are there any? Well, first we need a motion to approve the minutes, I guess, and a seconder. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, Holly. And a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay. And are there any questions or concerns regarding the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of approving the minutes as circulated, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 And anyone opposed, please say nay and or raise your hand. Hearing none, the minutes are approved as circulated. So moving on to item 3, approval of the order of business and approval of any additions or deletions. Elizabeth, are there any additions or deletions?
There are no additions or deletions from the clerk's office.
Okay. And in that case, I'd like a motion to approve the order of business as circulated. We need a mover and a seconder.
It's Andrew Taylor. I'll move that motion.
Thank you, Andrew. And a seconder, please.
I can second that, Hugh. Douglas here.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay. So I'll call for the question. Those in favor of approving the order of business as circulated, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Hearing none, we'll declare the order of business, the motion carried, and we'll proceed with the order of business as circulated. Item 4 is business arising out of the minutes. And there is none. So item 5 is a call for declaration of conflict of interest. If any committee member feels that they have a conflict of interest regarding the agenda, an agenda item, now is the time to declare it. Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed. Item 6, consideration of deferred business. The only item I would mention here is with regard to the discussion at the last meeting on the committee's terms of reference. It was suggested that we contact, we being myself and Douglas Wetmore, contact Way Mason, who is chairing the Transportation Standing Committee. And we have arranged for a call, but it's next week, at the end of next week. We will be reporting on that conversation at our next meeting. All right. Item 7 is correspondence, petitions, and delegations. With regard to the correspondence, I believe, Elizabeth, you circulated a late item that was received today by the committee members from Walk and Roll Halifax. Is that correct?
Yes, I did circulate general correspondence, but it's actually would be considered separate from correspondence related to this meeting since it's not related to an agenda item.
Okay.
If that makes
I see.
sense.
No, but
So correspondence can either be related to an agenda item or it can just be general correspondence, and the correspondence that was circulated earlier today would be considered general correspondence.
Yes, with a possible relevance to an upcoming
Yes,
item.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So any petitions or either from the legislative assistant or from committee members, do you have any petitions that you wish to bring forward?
There are no petitions from the clerk's office.
Okay. And I heard no others. And presentations, there are none from outside individuals or groups. So that brings us on to item 9. And we first have a staff presentation on education, outreach initiatives and opportunities. And I have here that Chloe Kennedy and Eliza Jackson will be making the presentation. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That is correct. I will just promote both of you, or
Thank you.
I don't know if it will let me promote both to co-hosts. Just a moment there.
Okay.
1 second. And Chloe, were you and Eliza thinking of, were you going to share your screen?
I was planning to, but I don't seem to have host abilities.
It might just take a moment there. I just promoted you to co-host. You might have to accept the invitation.
I got it.
Perfect.
So once the screen is visible, then Eliza is going to kick us off.
Okay, thank you.
Can everyone see Chloe's screen okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Looks
Awesome.
good.
Well, thank you so much to the Active Transportation Advisory Committee for inviting us to give this presentation. My name's Eliza Jackson. I'm the Transportation Demand Management Coordinator with Transportation Planning, which is actually in Planning and Development. And joining me today is Chloe Kennedy, who is an active transportation planner with David McIsaac's team in Public Works. And part of her role is related to education and promotion as it relates to active transportation. So today we're going to be providing kind of a brief overview of some of our planned initiatives and activities for promoting active transportation and providing education on active transportation as a mode of transportation, and also the work that we are doing as a municipality to increase access to active transportation. So I think we can move to the next slide. Thank you. So for the 2023-2024 year, our plan for education and promotion activities will focus sort of on three main pillars. So the first one is campaigns, and that's using things like social media, web, and other marketing channels to promote active transportation, as well as existing walking, rolling, and cycling facilities. We are also going to be doing a kind of a number of outreach activities, either through hosting events around the community or attending other community events to promote active transportation and the work that we are doing to make it more comfortable and convenient. And then the third piece is something we like to call infrastructure activation. So this is when we have a new facility that is being built. We like to take an opportunity to celebrate the completion of that new facility, and we also use that as an opportunity to educate people around how it works, especially because we're introducing new features sometimes that we don't have in other places in the municipality. So we have to kind of show people how it works, whether you're walking, rolling, cycling, taking transit, driving. There's always kind of new things that we have to learn, and also just encouraging people to use it. So, we might have a new bikeway in a neighborhood, and if people don't know that it's there, they might not know that they can, use that to kind of get to where they need to go. Next slide, please. So in terms of, we're going to kind of go through in more detail what we're planning for each of those areas. So the first one is campaigns. So this year we're looking at running our Get There by Bike campaign. This is the third year that we will be running this campaign. We ran it first in summer 2021, using like social media, web, some podcast kind of ad audio. And the real focus of that campaign was to drive people to our website, where we have lots of really great resources on, how to get started cycling, or how to cycle more if you're someone who's maybe a recreational cyclist. Then, how can you maybe integrate cycling more in your day-to-day travel? So we're looking at doing that again. And, in the past 2 years, we've had a really good level of engagement with this campaign. So we were reaching kind of new people with the messaging, and we were getting really good feedback that it was, something that people wanted to learn more about and they were interested in. So we want to do things a little different this year, but I will get into that in the next slide. Great. So so for the past 2 years, we've been using a lot of ads, sort of online and audio ads, like I mentioned. And these have mostly just been kind of static images from a photo shoot we did a couple of years ago with some, real people who cycle in Halifax. This year, we want to focus a little bit more on video content and actually demonstrating some of those trips or connections that can be made using our AAA bikeways. So an example with the kind of recently completed Cogswell connection, we closed, or like the temporary Cogswell connection, we closed a bit of a gap between some really key routes in Dartmouth and to downtown Halifax. So we'll be kind of demonstrating what, how it's possible to bike, between different destinations in the regional center using the AAA bikeways. So an example, the Flower Streets through the Dartmouth Commons, down Wise Road, across the bridge through the Cogswell connections, and then using Hollis to connect to downtown Halifax. And we really want to center that on what are potential trips that people would be taking by bike and how can they use the bikeways that we have. Next slide, please. So then we'll also kind of use digital media at other key opportunities throughout the year to promote cycling and our active transportation facilities. So an example is Bike to Work Day. Last year we did this kind of like short video. We promoted it on Instagram to encourage people to bike to work on Bike to Work Day. So it just had, a video kind of following Chloe biking from the Dartmouth Waterfront Trail, using the wayfinding to find her way, the bike map, using the ferry, so integrating multimodal transportation, and then kind of continuing her trip off to in theory work. So we've been finding this kind of content has been really useful in just promoting active transportation as a mode of transportation, and these opportunities like Bike to Work Day or World Bike Day or Walktober, these are all really great opportunities for us to chime in on sort of bigger or more recognized initiatives. And next slide. And then I think I'm going to hand it over to Chloe to take over.
Okay. Thanks, Eliza. So the other piece, have had a pretty strong online presence for the past few years, especially as I mentioned, in 2021. That was the first year we ran the campaign. We didn't think a pandemic would be happening the first year of the Get There by Bike campaign. So it has been, the most part, an online initiative. Radio, we had some bus shelter ads, things like that, and the pieces Eliza outlined. This year, we're really focusing on having a bit more of a community presence. So getting out there back in the community and attending events and also organizing our own. So some of the events that we hosted last year, this little photo was taken at the Regional Center Pocket Bike Map launch event that we hosted. So we had some, snacks to give away this past fall and some AT swag. And, we handed out the bike maps that have, an updated legend of all the different facility types that we have in Peninsular Halifax and Dartmouth. This year, we're going to be doing pop-up events on Bike to Work Day, which is next month. We also have 2 active transportation planners who are organizing a Jane's Walk. So that's an annual event in honor of Jane Jacobs, who is a city planner focusing on walkable communities. So the Jane's Walk that our group is planning is going to take place through the Halifax Commons as part of the Midtown Active Transportation Planning Project. So there's going to be more information about that online. We'll certainly keep ATAC folks in the loop about that planning project and the Jane's Walk. Also, there's a couple of open streets events that are going to be happening in both Halifax and Dartmouth this year. That's where, I'm sure everyone in this committee knows, but where we shut down the streets to traffic and, you know, celebrate people being able to walk and bike. There's often a lot of vendors and celebrations, music even. So we're going to have a presence at the Open Streets events this year. In the fall, there's also Car Free Day. So that's an initiative that we have some interest from Walk and Roll in partnering on. Also, the Commuter Challenge is going to be kind of expanded this year. Last year, we did one just for HRM employees, and this year we're going to be inviting other workplaces to participate as well, and that will align nicely with the Car Free Day celebrations. As Eliza mentioned, infrastructure activation is a big piece. So, you know, a lot of construction has taken place since 2020, but, you know, we weren't out on the streets in 2020 and 2021, you know, hosting booths. Prior to the pandemic, the active transportation team had little booths set up along the Barrington Greenway and along the South Park Street bike lanes to, you know, intersect people as they're using the facilities, give out information, you know, talk about new pieces like, oh yeah, hey, look, there's a left-hand turn box up here. Here's how you use it, or, you know, hand out treats and snacks and just, you know, have a bit of a celebration about the fact that we are expanding the cycling network. So some of the locations that we're thinking of this year include Almond Street. So construction is going to take place along a segment of Almond Street. So we'll be planning a pop-up booths there, you know, maybe somewhere around the Rona to, you know, celebrate the construction that's happening. The Terminal Road and Hollis Street connection was just finished in February. So that's hot off the presses. If anyone's been biking or walking or driving down around near the Superstore off of Barrington, you'll have noticed that there are new protected bike lanes kind of turning that corner and connecting into Hollis and Lower Water Street. So that is a nice area as well. We're thinking about having a booth. We could tie that into some of the Bike to Work Day activations that we're going to have around that area. Also, the Bayers Road multi-use pathway to the Chain of Lakes connection is mostly completed. There's been construction ongoing for the last few months on that, as well as this past fall. So that's, you know, when you're coming down that multi-use pathway, it kind of ended there, and now that connection, which was always planned, has been mostly completed up to the Chain of Lakes Trail with some intersection improvements. So we'll be looking to celebrate that and encourage and raise awareness about that connection, as well as some other tactical builds that are going to be happening around the project. So there's quite a few that are going to be built and completed this year, including Slater Street in Dartmouth and the North End Bikeways projects. Those two are ongoing with some functional planning and some public consultation and pop-up events that will be happening. Others in West and North End Halifax will be completed and having some booths set up as well. So that's kind of our plan to get out there and raise some awareness about the new construction that's going to be happening. We also have been working on some community-based programming. So this past year, we've been working with the Ecology Action Center to support their pop-up bike hub projects. So it's an initiative where bike, you know, safety education, skills education, and also materials to fix bikes are taken to communities where there might not be a bike fix-it shop close by. So some locations they've worked with in the past are North End Dartmouth, also North Preston. So that's a really important initiative for kind of, you know, helping people to get some knowledge and also some practical skills for fixing up bikes. We've also been supporting different community groups through our education and promotion grants program. So that's a maximum of $5,000 for, you know, things like Open Streets events, or, you know, sometimes they have, you know, holiday parades down trails in, you know, suburban or rural areas. So that's a really great program for supporting groups that have plans that want to, you know, organize their own events. So these are ways that we also can support communities as well. So in terms of how ATAC can get involved, you know, at this point, it's a good opportunity for us to chat about any ideas or thoughts you may have for other education or promotion initiatives that we could be looking at either for this year or next. Also, maybe if you know of any events that are happening in the community that we can attend, maybe there's a trails event in our suburban or rural area, or if you'd like to highlight any potential partnership opportunities for expanding participation in events. So if someone wants to, you know, get involved with Car Free Day or any of the other kind of upcoming events that we'll be attending, we'd love to hear about that as well.
So is that that's the end of your presentation, I take it, correct?
That's it. It's all for us. So yeah, I'm not sure if anyone has any thoughts. And also, we are happy to continue these conversations as well. In the coming weeks, if any, ideas occur to anyone or anyone wants to chat, Eliza and I's contact information is there. So feel free to shoot us an email if you'd like to set up a time to chat more about this. But mostly we wanted to kind of let ATAC know about some of the ideas we have, some of the things to look for coming down the pipes, and to see if anyone had any thoughts for how to get involved.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chloe and Eliza. I'd actually like to go through the speakers list and give everyone a chance to ask questions or make comments. Let's start with Doug Wetmore. Doug, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes. First of all, thank you for the presentation. Great to hear some of the initiatives going on. The one thing I'm curious about is with the car-free day, I was just curious is that primarily just kind of an outreach and trying to get people engaged, or are there any specific strategies you have to try and encourage participation in that?
Good question. So that one isn't happening until the fall. So we haven't kind of got down into the nitty gritties yet. Car-free Day is, I believe, an international initiative. So it's kind of one of these opportunities for us to hook into some existing messages and share some, key messages from other places, other organizations. Certainly it's a good opportunity to kind of align with the commuter challenge to say, hey, it's car-free day. Try taking the bike or transit or walking or rolling to your destinations.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I just think that car-free day,
if anyone has any specific ideas for kind of aligning with that.
Yeah, I guess if I could suggest anything, it'd be maybe try to reach out to some big employers that would be interested in really pushing it among staff. I feel like if you've got employers trying to push it and say, hey, we want all our staff to participate in this, things that come to mind are, I know any sort of environmental organization. I know there's a handful throughout Dartmouth. I believe there's one on Portland Street as well. Even just any sort of healthcare facility might pick up on that. So that'll be my recommendation to you. But
yeah,
no,
those
really,
are great
I
suggestions.
think that's a
Places
great opportunity.
Like the Clean Foundation would be a good
that's the name
for that.
That's the name I was thinking of.
And yeah, I should also highlight the commuter challenge is like something that I think our municipality used to kind of coordinate and participate in on kind of a broader scale. So it was like a lot of those large employers who were engaged, and it was kind of about challenging like their employees to use sustainable forms of transportation for commuting. So we did kind of a pilot one, or like a smaller scale one, with HRM staff last year, just to like try it with like 4,000 people before we like try and do it on a larger scale. So we also learned some really great lessons around kind of engaging people and how do we motivate people to try new forms of transportation, and also like how do we connect them with the like resources and information they need. Like if you're taking a new form of transportation, it sometimes is that mental you kind of need to do that mental work to be like, how do I buy bus tickets, or like what route should I take if I'm biking? So yeah, lots of lessons learned that I think we'll want to apply to that event.
Okay, thank you. I am working through my speakers list now, and Councillor Cattell is next. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I do. Here, I'm gonna got a couple screens open here. To find my questions again. There we go. No, we don't. Yes, so thank you. I mean, I'm always excited to hear what we're doing in the city in terms of promoting active transit. A few things. One was about the open streets. Now, I know open streets is primarily organized by the business improvement districts, and for years they've been trying to connect an active transit route, and we did 1 year from the North End to Spring Garden Road. I think it was like more of a pilot, and I'm just wondering, are you going to be doing that again this year and supporting the bids and kind of creating that network between the different bids? And the other thing is the grander vision here, of course, was really to connect downtown Halifax to downtown Dartmouth and look at open streets as, you know, a regular event, a weekly regular event every Sunday in the summer, having open streets from downtown Halifax to downtown Dartmouth. But if we could do it even once a year, that would be wonderful. Have we made, and Eliza, you and I are no stranger to this conversation, have we made any progress about that? I have a couple more questions. So do you want me to ask them all, or do you want to do one?
Well, it depends how long they are, I guess. If they're
Okay,
fairly short, yeah.
Okay, well, that's the one about the open streets. Are we getting any further and creating a complete route? The second was about the booths. I mean, okay, I get that we're adding new things and we're giving information to people who are already using the routes. I'm wondering about, you know, how do we get more people onto those routes? And I know you did mention a few other pieces you were doing, but I'm just wondering about kind of focusing efforts on that. And the third question was about where you're doing these programs with the bikes. I would add Spryfield and Fairview to the list. Both of those communities are some of our most disadvantaged communities. They also have, Spryfield also has some base infrastructure in there, but we don't have a bike program. And we also have a large number of newcomers. So I think there's a big opportunity both in Fairview and Spryfield for, you know, to create some equity and to welcome in newcomers and try to get people used to the bike programs. And on that note, what are you doing anything to help local communities start active transit committees? Because I'm desperately trying to get one going in Spryfield, and it's just, you know, I would love some support if that's being offered.
Right. Great. Well, thank you for the questions. I will mention that the pop-up bike hub was run in Spryfield this past summer out of the William Spry Center. I don't believe there was one in Fairview, so thank you for that. I will certainly have that conversation. Fairview would be a great candidate as well. In terms of supporting active transportation, you know, group formations, you know, our grants program mostly works with existing groups. So I'm not sure, David or Eliza, if you have any thoughts on that specifically. Community developers can also be a really helpful resource in, you know, they specialize in looking at, you know, how to run a board, how to set up a committee, how to, you know, host meetings and kind of get a group formed together. So, you know, we'd certainly be happy to work with the community developer and you to help move those pieces forward if that's of interest. For the open streets events, we've been supporting through the grants programs, ones that have been organized. You know, the one in Dartmouth was the Downtown Dartmouth Business Commission that put that one on. So primarily they've been organized by outside organizations kind of through our support through the grant program. So I'm not sure if David, Eliza, you have any additional thoughts on kind of the connection between the two events? Especially Eliza, if you had been in touch with her about that piece before.
Yeah, as far as I know, I think the kind of North End event was still sort of on, or like took place mostly on Agricola Street last year. So yeah, I'm not sure if they were able to kind of continue doing the larger closure. We did, I think, supported the kind of both the Dartmouth and the Halifax event through the grants program, but again, like making that connection too, because I think they're still kind of like Dartmouth usually happens sort of like late spring, early summer, and the North End one like in the fall.
Right.
Yeah, so we like, I think they're like the community organizers are still kind of also splitting it up by geography, I guess, time-wise as well.
But this is where I think, Eliza, and I know we keep having this conversation, there's a real opportunity to play a leadership role here, right? I mean, when I was with the North End, we did a lot of work in connecting those things, and we can't let the ball drop. I mean, this is, you know, in terms of outreach and support and building these networks, like, that's where the municipality can step in and help facilitate it. Asking the bids to do it, I think, is too much. You need to see them as stakeholder partners. And the reason the events are done on different days is because the opportunity to connect it is too much work for the bids. We need the city to step in and try to figure this out. And so, you know, you've got an opportunity there. You had the fertile soil. Now it's like, you know, go reap the rewards from it and try to make something happen. We need more. Like we need more and more and more. And the Spryfield event, how did that turn out? Like how many people came? Was it a success?
They did have some uptake. So this was run by the Ecology Action Center through our support, but facilitated by Ecology Action Center staff. They did have, I'm not sure of the exact number of participants that they had, but they had good reaction. They were able to, have people come out and learn some skills for bike repair. So Annika Ryapel and Ashley Bowers from the Ecology Action Center could speak more directly to those numbers, but I think that they're interested in partnering with the Spryfield folks again in the future, and good suggestion for Fairview as well.
Okay, well, perhaps we should move on because other people may have comments or questions. Thank you, Councillor, for those for your contribution. Annika Ropel, is Annika with us now?
Yeah, I am. I joined right at the end of the roll call there. I can talk to the Pop-Up Bike Hub has been an experiment that piloted in 2020, so it has been interesting and challenging. But one of the things that we've learned is that the closer we are to either places where people are gathering, but also places where people can get to without crossing highways has been really important. So originally we were partnering with rec centers and libraries, but it kind of has become apparent that it is a case-by-case study in each community. So we have longstanding partnerships with the Canada Game Centre in Clayton Park and with St. Andrews, which isn't quite in Fairview, but they're both kind of sandwiching it, but we do need to find another location. Spryfield, we found that the problem with where we were at the rec center was that people had to cross a highway. So kids weren't able to come by themselves and needed an adult figure, versus the programming that we were running in Mulgrave Park or at Hope Blooms. It was so close to where people lived that kids were able to come independently. And so that's something that we're fine tuning every year, but everywhere we've been, we've had, I would say, pretty non-stop engagement from the community. So it grows every year in terms of people knowing who we are and what we're doing, but also just in terms of figuring out the right location and the right partners. But it's constantly evolving and improving.
Okay,
sorry,
Spryfield doesn't have a highway. Sorry, but Spryfield doesn't have a highway.
So, not a highway. A second, like a major route that people don't feel comfortable letting their kids cross.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, not highway, secondary highway or busy road. My bad. I think of them as highways. My other comments to the thing, Car Free Day would be awesome to have free transit for Car Free Day. Just as a thing. And I would just love to see you guys use the videos that we made for HRM as part of your campaigns, because those are really fun to make.
They're awesome. So we've had the link to the Get There by Bike page. So all of the web traffic that's directed from all the social media ads goes to the page that has all those videos linked at the bottom there. And I know Ashley's also interested in kind of having those a bit more front and center because they're so fun and so informative.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Annika. Let's see if Holly Woodall has any comments or concerns.
I don't really have any comments, and other than you've been doing a great job so far, and I'm quite sure you're going to do nothing but improve on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Milena, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a very quick one. Really like Councillor Catel's every Sunday from Dartmouth to Halifax, shut down the roads. But you as a councillor will have to work on that to get the rest of the team to agree to that one. Great idea. Eliza and Chloe, thanks for coming by again. I'm just going to repeat what I said in an earlier meeting, that I think this is all really great. We're all here to promote active transportation. My bigger concern is with all the new bike lanes and infrastructure and promotion, et cetera, we're still failing on educating proper behavior in the bike lanes, and particularly on for those of us with disabilities on the multi-use paths and in the heavy busy areas such as Bears Road, numerous other locations as well. So, you know, I'd like to see a little bit of funding go in towards having more education on how to behave on your bike, and you know, because not a lot, but a handful, and that is enough, are not ringing their bells. They're zooming by. They're not slowing down. You know, a wheelchair cannot go from 0 to 50 to move out of the way in a millisecond. Somebody who's blind, such as myself, with a guide dog in particular, you know, it scares a dog when you're flying by, and people don't notice the harness, white canes, believe you me. Likewise, people who are deaf and hard of hearing. So for the pedestrian side, I'd like to see a little bit more education to promote this culture on good behavior in higher traffic areas with people. End of thought. And thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much, Melina. Yes, we should mention that as part of these little videos, you know, incorporated into those, you know, hey, you know, getting from point A to point B via active transportation, you know, some of those include the Barrington Greenway or other, you know, routes like the infamous Bears Road, you know, multi-use pathway that is, you know, has a lot of traffic at peak times, you know, incorporating some etiquette, but also making specific videos around etiquette. Because, you know, Don Neal in our group has been working the last few years on etiquette signage on all the facilities, you know, well, all the facilities that are off-road, that are shared between pedestrians and cyclists. But, you know, I myself cycle on one of those to work every day through the Dartmouth waterfront trail. And it's certainly, you know, an area where a lot more work could be done to get people, you know, safely sharing the facilities. So yeah. Thank you as always for that, you know, that push.
And just a nice reminder to Mr. Chair, I do have to leave at 5:30, and I too am leaving at Jane's Walk. So choose and pick where you're going to go. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Melina.
Thank you, Melina. Elizabeth Pugh, any questions or comments?
No, nothing from me, but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Peter Zimmer? Peter, you don't have your audio on.
Okay, there we go. I guess my real question is on this. You've spent a lot of time, done some nice videos, nice online stuff. Why aren't you advertising with posters on the telephone poles or the electric power poles in the areas where you're going to do these, where actually you have people engaged in active transportation going by them repeatedly during the days? Not everybody is going to be looking at their devices to check about where your links are to your lovely videos. I think, you know, we see lots and lots of concerts advertised on, you know, the same ad on 25 posts. People stop. They look, they make note of it. Sometimes they click on the QR code. All of these things put the message where the people actually are when they're not staring at a screen. And you could also do some signage that is positioned large enough, clear enough, and frequently enough and well in advance of the events that car drivers might actually understand what the hell's coming up, what's coming off, what's changing. I really think the city is missing a major chance in not advertising in the area where you're going to do an improvement for months before that we're about to start work on Almond Street. You know, say it, put it out there where pedestrians who may only go that way once a month will actually see it a couple times before the Almond Street event is officially opened. And do it around so cars coming down Roby Street or down Windsor Street or up them get some notice that there's a change. There are going to be more bicycles. That education is not done as a single shot event. A pop-up tent is going to educate only those people who happen to be walking by that on that day and have time to stop. I think there are ways to make lasting messaging much more effective than the city has done. Okay, I'll
Well,
stop.
thank you, Peter.
Stop the
Any
rant.
response to that? Any response, Chloe or Eliza?
Yeah, I think that's, looking into posters. For the interim tactical bikeways, we do have some signage with QR codes, but I think, expanding that, to advertise posters. We always put up posters for our functional planning, public meetings, pop-ups and things like that. So yeah, it's a tactic that we use for promoting, other kinds of engagements that we do. So yeah, it could certainly be used for these kind of things as well. Thanks, Peter.
Okay,
thank you. And I also can add, we have, I think, tried different things in the past, like transit shelter ads and things like that. So that also could be something that we could look at for this year's campaign. What are some of those, physical space, like advertising in this physical space, and bring in that mix, because, Peter, to your point, not everyone has a device or is kind of fully engaged with their device, even if they do have one. So, looking at that mix of kind of physical advertising and digital advertising is definitely something we can consider.
Okay, thank you. Paul Young, do you have questions or concerns?
Yes, I do. I have a few. I don't. To save time, we don't have to get a response. I'll just throw out some ideas. First, I come from Ottawa. Ottawa had Sunday morning bike days. It was fantastic. It ran from May until September. And what it did is Sunday mornings from 9 until 1 o'clock, some major roads were closed for bicycles, rollerbladers, walkers, babies, and it normalized active transportation in the city and encouraged people to do that sort of thing. I don't know if that would translate to Halifax as well. The only place I could think that would work would be closing down the Bedford Basin, which I would absolutely love, but I would probably be killed for suggesting it. No, you don't have to comment on that. It's just one thing. The next thing is on Car Free Day. Maybe we need maybe about a week or a month, the month leading up to it, some signage on buses. I love the idea of, at least on that one day, make it a free transit day. That's brilliant. I think that would really, really go a long way to kind of promoting the idea to get people out of their cars. Just a couple more comments on outreach. One of the things that might be worthwhile, I'm not sure if you're doing it, is CTV News, CBC News, CBC Radio. They love this sort of stuff. They eat it up. If you use it strategically, you feed them lines, you give them questions that you want to give answers to. They just love that stuff. So, don't be afraid to use them strategically for events like Car Free Day or those sort of things, events that you want to really promote, Commuter Day, that sort of thing. Another place that you can get your message out in is where cyclists and pedestrians are. And the one that pops to my mind is along the BLT trail, or the Dartmouth equivalent, is have some pop-ups there. You've already got people that are recreational cyclists, put a bug in their mind, say, or pedestrians, and say, hey, did you know that there were actually all these connections? Because I doubt they do. So, that would certainly, if you're not already doing that, I haven't seen it. If you're not already doing that, that would be brilliant. And in the same sort of vein, the Heartland Tour gets pedestrians and cyclists out en masse, there's one in the fall whose name I can't remember. Maybe it's an MS Tour. Those sort of things, be there, be present, promote, because you've already got people that have a mindset, but may not be using their active transportation in the city. They're using it, they may strictly be using it recreationally. So, you can start with leveraging those people for that audience, and then you can kind of broadly go through the media, say CBC or otherwise. So I hope that helps. You don't have to respond. Maybe there's something there that might help you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Paul. And we should move on. Brittany McLean, do you have comments, questions?
Thanks, Hugh. No, no questions, but just wanted to say I'm excited for some of the infrastructure openings that are going to happen this summer, fall, especially, and I'll put my little plug in here, the Bears Road area to the Chain of Lakes Trail, which is going to be signed Blue Route. And if you're not familiar, Blue Route is the provincial cycling network that will get you from one side of the province all the way back around 3,000 kilometers when it's done. So we're doing that with HRM. Hopefully this fall, that area will be opened as Blue Route. That's all for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. Miles McCormick.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thanks, Hugh. Thank you, Chloe and Eliza, for the presentations. I appreciate the promotion effort and trying to help out with outreach. One of the ideas I've had is reach out to the school board. If you reach out to the school board, they have Healthy Schools, which is promoted to the parents throughout the HRM. And it's something that goes on websites in schools. They circulate a newsletter. It's on board websites, on schools' website. And I think it would be awesome if you could link with them, because then you're reaching a large number of people for free. And I encourage you to go that route, because they're looking at initiatives for walk to school day, biking, bike safety, bike rodeos. There's all these things, but it's a great way to inform the parents and then to be active with their children on these events. So again, I think there's a natural bridge there between the school board and the city. Go for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. We have two active transportation planning staff that are on an active transportation, a school active transportation committee that was formed last year, I believe. So yeah, that's such a great connection. And thank you for that plug. Get some information home with the kids, to the parents.
Yeah, just the walk to school day, or, walk to work day, don't use the car, let's take the bus day, like things like that will be promoted, and I think you'll see a good turnout. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miles. And just for everyone's information, we are hoping to have a presentation on active school travel at our next meeting. So keep tuned. Andrew Taylor, do you have any questions or concerns?
Nothing right now, sir.
Thank you, Andrew. I just have one quick comment, because we do need to press on, but I'm just wondering, I'm impressed with the range of activities in terms of promotion and outreach, but I'm just wondering, is there any attempt being made to see how effective the promotion and outreach is?
Yeah, so Eliza has been able to monitor the campaigns to date. So maybe, Eliza, if you have any pieces of that you would like to share.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say it's hard to kind of measure overall, like, how does one campaign or like one thing that we do, how many new cyclists does that translate into, for example? But, we kind of look at everything that we do together and sort of what is the level of engagement and the level of participation. And so the Get There by Bike campaign is one thing that we, because we're using a lot of the digital marketing tools like social media, web, and that kind of thing, it's very easy for us to track like how many people saw it versus how many people actually clicked on it because they were, interested and they wanted to read more. So in some of those ways, we can kind of measure engagement. And if we have good levels of engagement, that tells us that this is something that's interesting, at least to people, whether they're, going to turn that into a new behavior. We're not, we can't track that, at least not yet. But it is a way to kind of tell us, like, is this something that's relevant to our residents and that they do want to learn more about, maybe they're interested in changing the way that they get around in the city. So, so for the campaign itself, I think both years we ran the campaign, we had over 10,000 visits to the Get There by Bike web page. And we were able to reach, or not reach 1 million people, but basically have 1 million impressions. So that means that some version of our ads were seen by a set of, were seen by people at least 1 million times. So, we're able to kind of measure how many people are seeing or hearing the ads. and how many people are actually engaging with them. And that's really good data for us to at least know that like it's interesting and relevant and engaging, and yeah, and kind of helps inform future efforts as well. If there's different kinds of ads that aren't performing very well, or some that are performing really well, that kind of tells us like that messaging or that image or whatever is is engaging and is kind of leading to people clicking on the website or whatever. So it's very nitty-gritty marketing stuff, but that is kind of one way that we are trying to sort of measure the level of engagement, I guess, from an active transportation.
And the grants, exactly. And the grants program, every time that we support another initiative, we receive a final report that talks about, how many people that the different groups who apply for grants are able to reach. We also keep track of how many people we're able to reach through our own public meetings and pop-up events. So we're able to kind of track how we're doing in that sense, how many folks we're engaging. A lot of it comes down to the quality, of our, relationships and how we're working with other groups to kind of reach people and that kind of thing. So it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. And, to kind of add, I was going to say, to add to that, we have like our, some of our permanent bike counters, and we have our integrated mobility dashboard, which, provides pretty much up-to-date data from those counters. So we're able to see, day over day, month over month, what some of the ridership is on some of our key corridors. So that also kind of gives us a little bit of insight into how the numbers are trending. And so we can kind of look at like, okay, like everything together, we're building new infrastructure, we're doing these campaigns, we're doing this outreach. Are we seeing an upward trend of people cycling on the main routes? And that's a really kind of key piece of feedback for us to say whether we need to be doing more or not.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we do need to move on, but if
Hugh,
anyone has a pressing question right now, now's the time.
I do. I have a
Councillor
pressing question and a suggestion. So thanks for providing an overview of how you do measure performance. It'd be great to get a report on that. As you know, we're spending millions of dollars on cycling infrastructure and programs, and we need to start, accounting for like what kind of difference are we making? Like when on Car Free Day, do our counters on our bike routes go up, right? Like that's really important, so we can help advocate for more of this. But two, I don't know if this is appropriate, Hugh. I have been on this committee long enough to understand the process, but I would like to make a motion related specifically to the discussion that we had here, that the Active Transportation Advisory Committee asked the Transportation Standing Committee to recommend that Halifax Transit provide free transit on Car Free Day.
Okay. Normally, we like a notice of motion ahead of time, but I can see where that comes out of the discussion. So I don't know if Elizabeth got the wording for that. Did you get the wording, Elizabeth?
I could put it in the
yeah, I didn't get all the wording. If you could put in the chat, that would be awesome, and then everyone else can see it as well.
Okay. And we will need.
And then we'd be adding a request for a staff report with that as well.
Yeah.
So with the staff report, Elizabeth, should we move then that the Active Transportation Advisory Committee ask Transportation Standing Committee to ask for a staff report?
Yeah, I think that's the way it works, because I don't think we as a committee can ask for a staff report. So we can recommend to the Transport Standing Committee that they request a staff report.
Provide free transit on Car Free Day. That's pretty basic. I don't know. Elizabeth, you can massage and add.
Let me just take a look.
Do what needs to be done.
Oh, and Krista just added something there as well. That
Oh,
ATAC
yes, okay.
recommend that TSC direct the chief of CAO to prepare a staff report on.
Halifax
Okay.
Transit providing free transit on Car Free Day.
Well, thank you for that. That's this is something that we had discussed kind of internally as well, Eliza and I, when brainstorming about the event. So it would be great to see something like this come to fruition.
Okay, well, we'll need a seconder for this motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Peter seconds the motion. So we'll proceed then, unless I don't know if there's any discussion required.
I just kind of wanted to clarify. So we're going to ask for a staff report. I just want to make sure it's specific here what we're asking for.
We're asking that Halifax Transit provide free transit. Free transit on Car Free Day.
Okay.
Someone,
so
I'm open to better wording.
Okay, I'm just going to, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
But the request for a staff report will have to come from the Transportation Standing Committee, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll work on the motion there and I can send it in the chat. If we want to move on to.
Okay, so maybe we'll come back to this once we have.
Let's do that. Yep, we can move on to the next item.
Let's proceed then with item 8.1, sorry, 9.1.2, which is the staff update. David McIsaac, do you have a staff update for us, please? David?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can. And see you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, my camera's, anyway. Look, I just have like a few kind of short updates on some, there's lots going on, so I never know exactly what to focus on, but one piece of good news is that the HRM budget that is going to, I think, go for final consideration later this month has a big win for active transportation, and that is that it doubles the budget for new sidewalks starting in 2024 in $2.5 and $3 million a year, and we will have double that amount starting in 2024. And in a tough budget year, that to me was exciting. Often we're just happy to kind of keep what we've got. So I think that's I felt really good about that. I think everybody should. Second thing, we just finished evaluation of the most recent round of education and promotion grants, keeping with the theme, I guess. And so there's some great projects there, and we will be announcing the successful recipients in weeks ahead. Third project I wanted just to update folks on is it's a bike project. It's related to the approaches to the McDonald Bridge on the Halifax side. We did some briefing of council and the Transportation Standing Committee on this earlier this year, and we're almost finished what we call a value engineering project. And what is happening with that project is the option that we much more expensive than originally predicted, which is mostly related to the inflation that we're experiencing. The other kind of challenge with that project is we were trying to sort of future-proof it and integrate a lot of transit improvements at the same time. And those were, you know, we were spending as much time on those and more than just on the bike aspects. So what we've done with the value, so we kind of got to this point where, you know, the costs were escalating and the complexities around kind of the multimodal side of it were difficult to predict. So the value and for me, really focus in on the bikeway connection and to look at options, frankly, that we weren't really even able to look at a few years ago. So there will be a report to council coming probably midsummer, and that's kind of where that stands. So it's a super high profile, important project for lots of different reasons, and it's one that we are absolutely committed to achieving. And you know, we might be kind of going along the same path as we were before, or there might be some better, cheaper options that we can propose. So maybe there's questions on that, but I just wanted to let you know it's important. We're working hard on it, and what's Raquel, the only other thing I'll say is these value engineering folks are kind of from all over North America. They kind of come in and help you lead the process. And what's been, I guess, interesting for us is like they've looked at and they've got, you know, decades of experience, and they look at what we're trying to do here, and they admire our ambition because there are a lot of complexities to it. Anyway, enough on that one. Just one challenge that we are experiencing in the active transportation group right now is that we are at about half staff, or we will be in a week or so. We've had a couple of folks, Chloe, who I'm not sure is still on the call. Yeah, it looks like she is leaving the group. Megan Backus, who was with us for a few years, had left the group. And one of our longtime active transportation planners has been pretty much off work for 6 months now with some serious health problems. So we're juggling that and hoping to restaff at least a couple of those positions soon. But we're treading water right now and trying to kind of keep some of the priorities moving while we regroup and restaff. Final kind of fun project or interesting project that was just recently active is some community engagement in East Preston. So we hope to start construction of the East Preston Greenway this fall as our first rural community with active transportation facilities. And our engagement out there, we got lots of positive feedback on the project, and we got lots of positive feedback on paying more taxes in order to be eligible for this facility. So folks in East Preston are anxious for the project and are, you know, willing to pay the area rate that rural communities will have to pay to be eligible, which I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out when we started. So that was helpful. That's my update. Happy to take questions, and there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. So, you know, feel free to be in touch with me separately. I'm always happy to take questions via email, but those are a few of the things that I wanted to kind of highlight for the committee tonight.
Okay, thank you, David. Yes, we have time for just a few short questions because I do want to make sure that we get to the end of our agenda today. So let's just quickly go through and see if anyone has questions. Holly Woodall? Yes or no?
No.
No, thank you. Milena, yes or no?
I think Milena's gone. She had to leave at 5:30.
Oh, that's right. I guess, well,
Yeah, she's no longer in the
that's
meeting.
right. Okay, thank you. Elizabeth Pugh?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Thank you. Peter Zimmer?
I'll pass for now.
Yeah, thank you. Paul Young?
No comments. Thanks for the update.
Okay, thank you. Brittany McLean?
Nothing here, thank you.
Miles McCormick?
No questions.
And Andrew Taylor?
Nothing here, thanks.
Okay. Douglas Wetmore?
You're getting off scot-free tonight, David. Nothing else for me.
Well, we do want to get on to our motion. Councillor Cattell?
Yeah, just one quick question.
Okay.
I'm just wondering on your update, I might have missed it there, but did you say you were working on the new active transportation strategy? I'm just wondering how that's coming along.
We're not working on it yet. I think what we said we would do in 2023 is sort of set the direction for what we do next on that. I think what I'm going to be looking for this year, probably in discussion with this committee and then Transportation Standing Committee, is some direction to actually do a new plan. I have a bit of a strategy on how to resource that internally because we don't right now have the staff resources to actually do it or lead it or coordinate it. So I would say 2024 is kind of the target year to do the work. At least none of this is approved, so this is all in my head. And 2023 is our year to get ready to that work and to kind of get the specific direction. There is a bit of a question right now as I talk to my planning colleagues about whether we should wait until the regional plan update is approved. And that's mainly because the active transportation plan is sort of a child plan of that larger regional plan. And that's how we did it in 2014. I'm not sure we need to do that, but again, that'll be something for discussion with the higher ups and of course eventually with council.
Right, okay. But the strategy, the new strategy was supposed to be started a couple of years ago, correct?
Nope. The integrated mobility plan sort of extended the active transportation priorities plan to 2023, and there's a recommendation in there, and then it says that we would I don't know the exact wording, but anyway, kind of sets 2023 as the year to kind of take stock and to start anew, if that's the direction.
All right. Well, I do have concerns that if there's too much of a gap there, but we can talk about that another time. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor. And I don't have any questions. I do thank you for the update, and perhaps next month we'll get a more complete update and time for discussion. Let's get on to the motion then that's been proposed. I have the wording here. Let's see if this is agreeable. The wording I have is that the Active Transportation Advisory Committee recommend that this Transportation Standing Committee direct the Chief Administrative Officer to prepare a staff report on providing free transit during a car-free day. Councillor Cattell, is that what you intended?
I think that captures the intent. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Peter Zimmer, that you're still okay to second that?
Absolutely.
Okay, in that case, let's just move to voting on the motion. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Then the motion is approved with no amendments, and we will need, I guess, Elizabeth, we'll need the legislative assistant to pass that motion on to the Transportation Standing Committee.
Yep, I will. I'll work on that tomorrow
Okay.
and getting that report into progress there, or starting it off.
Okay, thank you very much. We do have time then to move on to our other presentation. Committee member Holly Woodall has a presentation on ATVs on trailways, and she did circulate something ahead of time for you. I hope you've had a chance to read it. Holly, would you like to go ahead and make your presentation?
Sure, thank you. I hope everybody read it because it's quite the tome. I tried to keep it short to one page and was completely unsuccessful. The majority of trail groups that are building and developing trails or simply maintaining them now in HRM are community trail groups. And I gave a brief description of their goals and purposes. In doing so was to protect the environment that the trails or parks live in, to educate the public on the benefits of active living and the use of recreational trails and related programs that take place on them, promoting active transportation and the safe use of recreational trails and trail etiquette, and involve the community in the trails as much as possible. But in relation to the Shearwater Flyer Trail itself, it was a former rail line, the same as the Salt Marsh Trail, which is in the Cole Harbor Heritage Park, and we still maintain, but we dropped the Shearwater Flyer Trail because of the active use of or abuse of ATV, motorized users, ATVs and dirt bikes. In 1 year alone, it cost us $10,000 for volunteers to raise that kind of money to correct damage that's being made to a trail and keep it safe for everyone else, whether you're walking, bicycling, using a walker or a wheelchair or a scooter nowadays. It just was unfeasible, and we asked the province, because it's provincial land, to make it non-motorized so that it would be more affordable and safer for people. The abuses of the land, the surrounding the trail was outlined in the report I submitted. The abuses to the volunteers was just slightly mentioned. And we gave them an ultimatum after a study was made that clearly 80% of the people in the community and beyond were in favor of it being non-motorized, and yet the province declined to do that. So we were forced to drop the Shearwater Flyer. It broke our hearts, but there you have it. And it's been handed over to the Marine Riders Trail Association. Previously the Marine Riders ATV Club group. They have been also previously had the LOA, the letter of authority for the Blueberry Run, which is in quite despicable repair, and I'm not going to comment any further on that. But Atvans and Marine Riders have their way of doing things, and the community groups in the province of Nova Scotia have another mindset entirely. The public meeting that was held recently on February 16th, we were invited, the community was invited to go. It had a good turnout of mostly ATVers. You weren't allowed to ask questions at the meeting. You could submit questions to the Marine Riders Trail Association, who had not yet been awarded the LOA until March the 8th. the consultation for the LOA normally takes at least a full year anywhere in the province, and this was a very quick turnover to a group, and there was no community consultation on it. And the community members in the area are very upset. And they're speaking to us, and we're trying to get them to speak to the province. Now, I'm not saying that motorized users are all bad in any way, shape, or form. This is our particular trail group's experience. When you get to St. Margaret's Bay Rail Trail and the Beachville Lakeside Timberley, the BLT Trail Association, they've had success. It took a toll. It took a long time, but they've had a success. And they're managing to make it work as they progress forward. However, this particular situation didn't work out the way most people wanted it, and that's quite unfortunate. We've had our issues, the volunteers of Cole Harbour Parks and Trails. The community has had issues with the motorized users, and the environment is definitely having an issue. But no one speaks up for them, the environment, except us. So if you have any questions, I really sincerely hope you read that tome I submitted to you. Have at me.
Okay, thank you, Holly. I think you succinctly summarized the situation, at least with the Shearwater Flyer. Let's go through the speaking list. I'll vary the order here. Let's start with Elizabeth Pugh.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. I really appreciate the presentation. I did read your thing. I'm certainly kind of interested in digging a little bit deeper myself as a provincial person into what exactly zhappened there. But I don't know enough to really comment on it. Good luck.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Peter Zimmer. If you can keep it brief, Peter, because we want to get through the list. Peter Zimmer?
I believe you're muted again there, Peter.
Got it again. Anyway, starting off, thanking Holly very much for that report. It was very well done. I don't know, I'd say the ATVs should be banned from that trail because that trail seemed to be a clear kind of link from the municipal core area out the eastern shore. Without that, I'm not sure there's a reasonable way for a cyclist to get out to Lawrencetown. I hope there's something we can do. I hope there's something the city will do, and the province will accept that.
Years ago, we asked the province to buy it for $1, or the state municipality to buy it for $1 from the province, and Peter Kelly immediately handed over the $1 to the provincial rep that was there, but it never actually physically got done with the city and the province. The Woodside Greenway connection is in the process, I believe, or is it an active transportation lead from Woodside Ferry Terminal up to the Shearwater Flyer Trail. But be aware that the part of the Shearwater Flyer Trail that passes through DND property is not motorized. But I don't know what's going to happen with the Shearwater Flyer now. I'm just worried about it. And the province has opened some trails or roads to ATVs and dirt bikes, actual physical roads in the rural areas. And Barry Barnett and David Hensby just recently presented to Halifax Council to do the same thing in Halifax municipality, which worries me about car insurance, actually, because having who's going to be responsible for the insurance on those roadways where you're sharing it with ATVs, side-by-sides, and dirt bikes. Anyways, I digress. Continue on.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Paul Young, do you have any questions or comments? Paul Young?
Sorry, thanks for the report. I missed my mute button. If you could be, for my benefit, I'm not as familiar with the exact area here. Which part of the trail is of concern? That's my first question. Second is, what do you want from us? And finally, my last question is, with the group backing away, what's the consequences of that?
The consequences were an ATV group took over a motorized shared trail, and it's staying a motorized shared trail when the community did not want it to be a shared motorized trail. They wanted it to be an strictly active transportation trail, human powered. And that's what our group could afford to do. However, the province gave it to a motorized trail group. Now, the trail goes from Bissett Road, where the Salt Marsh Trail begins at the Cole Harbour Heritage Park, all the way down to Hines Road, where it starts to cross the D&D property to go down to Main Avenue in Woodside, Corsair Main Avenue. That part is not ever going to be motorized. The MPs will come out with guns on their hips and stop anybody who's a motorized user on their property. The link is vital to active human-powered transportation, in my opinion. And when you compare it, what it looks like now and what the Blueberry Run looks like, it just saddens me.
Can you remind me where the Blueberry Run is, please?
The Blueberry Run is farther out the eastern shore. It goes up into Gatesbrook Safe Active Transportation Association group and the 107.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. I tried mountain biking that last year and I was unable. So I understand what you're saying.
You need a life vest for part of it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Paul, for those questions. Brittany McLean, do you have any questions or comments?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Miles McCormick?
Not at this time. No questions.
Okay. Andrew Taylor?
No, nothing from me.
Okay, Andrew. Douglas Wetmore?
Nothing from me, but thank you for sharing the story with the committee. Definitely appreciate it, and I'm sure your responses are going to be anonymous, or they're anonymous. They're all going to be the same, and you'll have all our support if you ever reached out.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Cattell?
Thank you, Hugh. Yeah, it just what I'm pretty sure Becky Kent, the counselor who represents that area, I believe it's Becky Kent. She has been
Yes.
involved in this, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and she's working with you and supporting your group to address the issues, I believe.
She was very supportive of Cole Harbour Parks and Trails Association. However, it is provincial land.
Right. Yeah. Well, she has lots of experience there, so she did speak to us briefly about these issues. So I know it is top of mind for her, and we'll be supporting. At least I'll be supporting Becky with anything that she wants to do with that. So thanks for your report and for being here and explaining this in person tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, and Annika Ropel, questions or comments?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. This is definitely something I've been keeping an eye on. And 7 years ago, I worked as a student for the SADA committee, so I'm very familiar with the Blueberry Run and also how beautiful that area is. I'm deeply frustrated with the province's response to this. So this is something I'm certainly intending to continue keeping eyes on. And question how some of those decisions are made.
Okay, thank
But
you.
it's a tragedy.
I have a suggestion or a question. It seems to me from what you've said, Holly, that perhaps the only route that would get this back to a non-motorized trail, well, actually, I guess it would move from a motorized trail to a non-motorized trail. It would be for the municipality to attempt to buy the trail again from the province. And of course, I have no idea whether that would fly, probably not. But on the other hand, it would make a strong point that essentially ATVs don't mix well at all with trails, and particularly with community trail groups that have to raise money for maintenance and have to have the staff for maintenance. So I'm just wondering whether this committee maybe could make a recommendation to the municipality to at least approach the province with a view to purchase. What do you make of that idea?
You could try it. I'm not sure how well it would fly. I'm aware that they've purchased parkland in the past for the nominal fee of $1, which is why we made the suggestion to Peter Kelly that day. But it never got any further than that. So.
Okay. Let me follow up question. If the municipality was able to purchase the property and if it was able to make it non-motorized, would Cold Harbour Parks and Trails be willing to reassume?
In a heartbeat.
Okay, that's good to hear. So I'm just wondering, maybe you and your group would like to consider what the next step would be, because I think really all this committee can do would be to recommend a purchase by the municipality. David McIsaac, do you have a reaction to this idea?
Oh, I love the idea. I think there's been lots of talk about this internally. Also, a couple of the other kind of provincial corridors have kind of flirted with, the groups have kind of flirted with wanting HRM to take them over. These are on the Rum Runner side of the municipality. The province has never been interested in giving these up. So that's been like the message that we've received consistently from their staff. And so I think you know, if they wanted to give us to us for $1 or whatever it is, I think HRM would be interested in we would see benefit and we'd align with our policies to acquire it. What we don't want to do, and we have talked, is like HRM's not interested in taking over the letter of authority from the province, and then having to run it as a motorized facility, because it's just, we don't want to do that either, Holly.
It's too
So
costly.
much I could say about this. There's so much. I think, you know, I guess if the committee wanted HRM to explore taking it over, you know, you could kind of go the route of what you were doing earlier, like ask Transportation Standing Committee to ask for a staff report on HRM taking over Shearwater Flyer. And, you know, basically what would happen then is, you know, we would, if that was the direction, we would knock on the province's door and ask, you know, would you like to give it to us? And then respond back to council on what we heard. Would probably, that's kind of probably what would happen. So, you know, I guess the benefit of that would just sort of be continuing to knock on the door and continue to making them aware that they do have another alternative. But for now, it's very much in the province's court, and they very much kind of like the status quo.
I'll take it back to Cole Harbour Parks and Trails Association, and I might talk to a few other trail groups in the municipality. I know a couple other trail groups are feeling the pressure of becoming motorized from beyond the HRM borders, but they're actually in HRM. So we'll have a discussion and bring it back to this committee.
Okay, I think that would be a good idea, Holly, and yeah, and I would look forward to you know, a response from your group, from you. That would be great.
Okay.
Now, anyone else have anything to add to this? Peter Zimmer.
Taking the moment to unmute this time. Thank you. What goes through my mind is we're all associated with other people, other organizations. We're all citizens of Nova Scotia. We have a vote when it comes to provincial election. Maybe there is an alliance to be built, Holly, with your organization, with people who are willing to be activists at a political level provincially, because that seems to be where the problem has been stuck, apparently for decades. You know, that seems to me really the only route out of here, is that we as individual citizens are free to act in that wider sphere. It would not be ATAC acting on that. It would be Peter Zimmer and Annika and Holly, you know, just being good citizens and looking to redevelop a proper mobility commons, because the ATAC people are going to make it impossible for that strip of land to be a commons that I could use as a cyclist or as a walker or as a, you know, anything other than having an ATV.
Yeah. I feel your pain. And I understand, hopefully, that you're not asking me to run for council or MLA or anything, because that's not going to happen.
No.
Oh, go on.
No. I get asked that all the time. No.
Okay. Well, I think, as you said, Holly, it would be appreciated if you would get back to Cole Harbour Parks and Trails, and maybe bring, you know, report back to this committee once you've done that.
Will do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd,
Okay.
I'd also just suggest touching base with Becky Kent and just seeing if she has anything in the works so that we're not working at cross purposes.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. With that, I think we should move to move to the end of our meeting. The date of the next meeting is May the 18th. There has been some question of whether we should move to an in-person meeting or continue with an online meeting. Rather than put this to a vote, because I don't think this is something where the majority needs to rule. I think there are some special cases on the committee that people have difficulty with mobility and with attending an in-person meeting. But what I would say is, if any of you have any preferences or concerns with an in-person meeting rather than continuing online, please email myself and copy to Douglas Wetmore, and that'll give us information as to whether there is an overwhelming consensus that we should move to in-person. With that, I would like to move to adjourn the meeting. All I require is a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that, Andrew Taylor.
Thank you, Andrew. No seconder is required, so I will conclude the meeting and thank you all for your participation. See you next month, hopefully. Thank you.
Good evening,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Bye.
ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Always
you.
informative.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.